everybody, welcome back to another weekly market review for F45trading.com. This week we will be discussing the very last week of May. If you can believe it, May is already almost over. Monday the 25th to Friday the 29th in particular. So, real quick, bank holiday in the U.S., I believe it's Memorial Day, so it is a holiday Monday tomorrow. At the time of this recording, it is Sunday evening, as always. We also have a GBP holiday as well, too. I'm not sure what this holiday is. Let's just find out. They are closed in observance of the spring bank holiday. Perfect. So we've got two closures on Monday. I would assume Monday is going to be fairly quiet on most of the major currencies. So expect that. And then coming into Tuesday, we've got a pretty light economic impact day on Tuesday. Canadian Governor Polls is speaking for the Canadian dollar late in the day on Tuesday. Wednesday, starting to get a little bit more into it. We've got ECB president speaking, and then a private capital expenditure for Australian dollar. And then Thursday, I believe Thursday is going to be the real moving day. You know, again, these aren't huge, high-impact news releases, but bear in mind, these will definitely spike the market. There's a couple of fairly big ones in here. Obviously, unemployment claims is pretty huge. We don't even have a forecast number out yet for that. This number is going to continue to get worse, though, I believe. Now, keep in mind, there are some states that are definitely starting to come back out of lockdown. But I heard some numbers, which was quite interesting. Something like 40% of the positions that are not going to be filled again, going back. So, I mean, that could be absolutely huge. Anyway, worry about that another day. But prelim GDP and core durable goods, durable good orders and unemployment orders, those will definitely, and of course, pending home sales, all hitting very early. New York open on Thursday. Be mindful of that, you know, you're not caught in a trade and it's just ripping another way and you're not too sure why, because there's several stacked news events there that are all going to get released at once. So that could definitely fluctuate the market. Especially look at this one. Look at the core durable goods. Look at this. Last week was revised, excuse me, to negative 0.4%. This week is going to be negative 14.2%. So it's not, just keep in mind, when you guys are looking at the news events, you need to obviously figure out, you know, high impact, you know, news events, what currency it's coming out for, what the impact does to the currency, of course, but also have a look at the previous and have a look at the forecast numbers, because these will also kind of give you some inclination as to what could possibly be on the horizon. I'm not going to go through it in any more detail in here. I'll leave that, guys, up to you guys to figure out on your own time, but just keep an eye on these numbers in here. That, you know, the worse they are, the bigger the gap, the bigger the disparity from the previous reporting to the next. It's typically going to bounce price. And then going into Friday, again, a little bit more of the same. I'm anticipating Thursday and Friday to be pretty big moving days to sort of make up for some lost time on Monday. Again, a whole bunch of medium impact and then a high impact news event for the US dollar to wrap up the week. So, you know, again, bear in mind, we've got some pretty big numbers here that are going to be coming out, so it should move the markets. So we'll be expecting that for Thursday and Friday of this week. Until then, it's going to be fairly light. Nonetheless, though, it doesn't change the position that we're still in. US dollar is just caught in this never-ending consolidation. Been in this shop for quite some time, so you guys should be implementing your standard consolidation trading, you know, again, buying the lows and selling the highs and everywhere in between. Now, what I'm looking for, we've already started off the week open. Again, at the time of this recording, it's Sunday evening, so the market's been open now for about 6 hours. You can see we're already starting to move higher. I'm on a 4-hour chart. Let me move down to an hourly. You can see we've already started to break out above. What I'd like to see them do, though, is we have some equal highs up here. I'm going to drag this out just so you can make sure you mark it on your chart. A little over 100, about 100.50, I believe, is about that level. I think we're going to probably spike and try to make a move up into there. But just keep in mind, like this range that we've been in, you can see this. It's, you know, big range down here, comes in, creates the consolidation range from the low to the high. So we've got the level set in, and it just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So just bear that in mind. You know, these moves that are coming up, they're not going to be monstrous, you know, 200-300 pip moves. You know, so you should be in and out in whatever pair you're trading for 30, 40, 50 pips and call it a day and wait for the next setup. You know, again, the US dollar, I'm predicting to move up into this range here, but we could go anywhere into this gray area and then roll over and go lower, you know, and that would all be, you know, technically acceptable. In my opinion. Now, I'm just pointing these highs out here just because they did leave them. They shot above this high and this high here with this run up here. Failed to get below those lows there. That ultimately is where I'm looking for price to go eventually. But bear in mind that we could easily just shoot up into here, hit this resistance area into the lows of this little consolidation area in here, and then fall off and come right back down. So we'll see what they want to do. What I'd like to see them do for the week, and we'll see if it happens. So far, it hasn't been a high probability, and what I'd like them to do is to shoot back down into the highs of these consolidations, and then run back up. Now, again, you know, target in here and maybe leave a little bit on to see if it does want to pop above these highs here. But what we've been seeing so far, so this is what I'd like to see happen. But what we've been seeing so far throughout this consolidation, you know, we had a run up in here, and then they did that. They came back, retraced, balanced the range, and then shot higher. Perfect. But they didn't come back down to here to balance that until this area in here. And then they came back down and shot back up again. And price didn't come back down to rebalance until all the way back down to here, you know, 2 weeks later-ish. Same thing, we saw price shoot up and it didn't come back down to balance again until about 2 weeks. So do we get the same thing where price shoots up and then we don't see it come back down again? Very possible. This is what I'd like to see happen. Monday, Tuesday trade softer, and then you know, kind of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, mid-Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday start to shoot higher, and then we start to try to challenge these highs up here. That's what I'd like to see on dollar. Okay, so try to wrap this up here without going on too long. EurUsd. Again, more of the same, exact same range that the US dollar's been in. Got a couple equal lows down here that I'm looking at. But for the most part, you know, just sort of banging around in the range here. Now, we did manage to clear up this little gap right here that I highlighted last week, so I hope some of you guys took that trade because it was a perfect setup for that. Ran up 1, 2, 3 times, made the high, and then price fell off. So what I'd like to see for EurUsd is for price, again, to trade a little bit higher. We're not talking much here, you know, from current location up to here, you know, we're about 50 pips or so. We could easily get that run up into Monday, Tuesday trading, and then for price to get soft and roll over and then possibly come under these lows here. That would be ideal situation. So we'll see how that pans out. I don't really have anything more to say about that other than it's consolidation trading, guys. So if we do get a run up, I would be targeting down into here, the highs in here, as my first profit, and maybe put a little bit on to see if we can get underneath these lows here. But definitely, you know, 30, 40, 50 pips, get in, get out, and call it a day and wait for the next setup, because, you know, that's all you can expect for in these range-bound markets. Now, GBP, I should have cleaned this chart up a little bit before. Apologize, guys, it's very busy. I actually had an entry, a short entry that came to fruition there on cable for last week, which what I'm looking for, it was a sell order, and what I'm actually looking for on cable is for price to continue to run lower. So let me just go to a daily chart and show you what I'm talking about. So we had a nice dip down in here about 5 days ago, and I think cable could continue to remain heavy. You can see we ran these lows under there. See this low here and this low here. We briefly ran those lows and ran away, and then banged up into the lows of the previous range. And then we're now starting to trade softer for the past 3 days. Very small ranges, but had kind of a nice drop on Friday. I'm hoping for this trend to continue. I'd like to see price run down another couple hundred pips back to the highs in this range in here. That's what I'm looking for. Now, what would change that, obviously, is if price were to trade above these old highs here, and that's not too far away. You know, it's about 120 pips away, so you know, certainly lots of room for error there. But I don't want to see, what I don't want to see is price to just get all of a sudden get a couple of big green candles and then we start heading up to here. If it does that, then you know, we may try to run above these highs in here, which is what I'm ultimately looking for long term. But I think we're going to drop down before that gets up to there. So that's my target. The lows under here, kind of right into this area right in here, is what I'd like to see price do this week. That'd be a couple of 100 pips lower on cable. And so right now we're just sort of sitting in a tight range. And price is really trading sideways for the most part, while EurUsd last week was ranging higher. Obviously, you could see the unwillingness for GbpUsd to do the same. You know, we had a down week last week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday closed about midway up of Monday's range. We had a big Monday, but now I'm looking for them to close that area in, run lower, and away we go. So I don't necessarily think, kind of like EurUsd, I think we should have to, we may see a pop higher before it drops lower. GBP I don't necessarily think is going to give that to us. However, they could possibly run it above this high here, just to shoot anybody who is going short out of the market and then roll over. So be careful of that. But certainly I believe the target for the next day at least is, is under here. And then long term, I believe the low down here is going to get run out. So that's what I'm looking for to happen on on GbpUsd this week. And as we progress into the week and the setup happens, I'll be giving that information out to my members, of course, and give them the exact entries, you know, the stop losses, the take profit levels, and everything else. So they can look forward to that. If you want some more information on that, obviously check us out, f45trading.com, and I can certainly enlighten you on what my thoughts are further on the cable market. Now, Euro GBP. We had this, as I said, finally took out these highs up here last week. And again, this is a very busy chart. I apologize, guys. I got lines all over the place. Let me clean it up for you a little bit. So basically the check mark just kind of shooting up in there just because I'll have to had that target that I had on my chart targeted out for a very long time, and you can go back to previous recordings from the last few weeks, and I mentioned I'm looking for Euro GBP to trade up into here, and we got that last Thursday. Price then sort of falling off a little bit, so it's going to be interesting to see what they want to do. If Euro GBP is heading lower, it's either going to drag EurUsd down with it quite heavily, or it's going to push cable higher. I'm kind of thinking that we're going to see lower prices in EurUsd. But what I'd like to see them do, honestly, I don't want to see this as the high. There's another little area above price, but I'd like to see if they could sweep below these lows here and then surge higher and run this high one more time. I think that would kind of give the green light for GBP to then drop down into this area here. So we'll see if we get that. And again, if they did that, that would allow for EurUsd to drop while they'd probably hold this pair sideways, GBP sideways. And then once this pair started moving back up higher, then they would probably give the green light for GbpUsd to drop. So that's just kind of my thoughts. But again, as that progresses, I'll refine that a little bit more into detail. UsCad, not much we can say about this. We've got all the levels marked on our chart where we the previous highs and lows, and that's all we can do. It's just sitting in a range. You should be buying the lows and selling the highs. As again, I can't stress that enough in these range-bound markets. Again, US dollar range-bound, EurUsd range-bound. GBP was range-bound in here, sort of, but more heavy on the short side. UsCad definitely in a very tight range. You know, this range, this most recent range, it's about a 200, 300 pip range. So certainly lots of opportunity there. Like I say, you could have bought and sold the highs and the lows several times in here and had a couple of great months. The most recent opportunity about 2 days ago, last Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday finally shot higher. Now again, what do we do on this pair? It's going to be heavily weighted into oil, of course. So oil has been just shooting the moon here. I mean, look at this. Look at oil. The past all of May, just straight up. We hit those lows the end of April, and then it hasn't looked back. To be honest with you, I'm fully expecting this thing to shoot higher and close up this gap. I'll talk about oil here in a second as my last pair, but USCAD, if that does happen and oil does go higher, it should allow USCAD to fall. But if US dollar is going to gain some strength here in the interim, then chances are, if we do go higher on this pair, it could be pulling USCAD higher, in which case either A, they're going to continue to consolidate this and then wait for US dollar to drop, and then I think we're going to see a big shot down very quickly on USCAD, or B, they're going to just keep it in this range and slowly start to take out these highs here. But for now, if I do trade Canadian dollar, it would be of the mindset where I'd be just buying the lows and selling the highs, and I'd be sticking within this range until it starts to break out and it confirms the breakout. So that's really about all I can say about USCAD. And then finally, Aussie. Aussie actually surprised me last week. I wasn't anticipating them to take out these highs. I was hoping they would have left those and just kept on banking around in here. But now that we did take those, I think there's a good chance, again, and this is another reason why I believe US dollar is going to head higher. I think Aussie was kind of the leading indicator. We saw them run the highs, and now Thursday, Friday has been traded softer. I think there's a very strong possibility that we're going to see them run underneath these lows, and we're going to see a bearish week on Aussie for this week. So I'm going to be watching for that. What would change that is if basically you see this high and this high right here. If we started trading back above that area there, then they're just going to keep pushing Aussie higher, and it's just going to do its own thing. And you can see this pair has definitely been bucking the trend as of late as one of the only pairs to do that out of all the currencies against what the US dollar is doing. So again, keep your eye on that. I'm looking for down here this week. We'll see what it gives us. I don't want to see it trade back above these highs here again. So if you just drop down to an hourly, you can see sort of what that looks like right there. Pretty easy. This area in here should act as resistance. If we do see it trade up, I'd like to see it go soft from there and then go lower. Okay, and that's it for foreign currency. I'm going to wrap up finally with oil, which I pretty much gave you my thoughts. Very good chance we're going to shoot this gap up into here this week, if not next week. And where it goes from there, I don't know. We could come back lower. There's several areas in this whole upswing that I think they should come back down and clean up. Now look at last Friday. This is the one that I want to talk about here. Look at what they did last Friday. Shot it down the first 3 hours, and this was after the new day opened. This was before London Open even started. They shot price down, and then they hammered it in here for about 8 hours, and then they shot it higher to finish higher on the day. So very impressive. They swept these lows here, which is why I have them listed here. I didn't get on this trade. Unfortunately, I didn't see this. I wasn't in front of the charts. I didn't even trade on Friday. And that's what it gave us. So I think this thing is just going to keep going higher, guys. I believe there's a lot of sentiment behind it right now. The numbers don't add up, so this is why I'm not suggesting you guys go crazy bullish and just get all over oil and bet the farm on it and remortgage the house and saying, yeah, we're going to have higher prices. I think we're probably going to have higher prices in oil, but be very careful and be mindful that they've left areas underneath price in some of these areas here, in this leg up, that they will, and I highlight, underline, exclamation point, will come back for. When do they do it? I don't know. Could they come up, shoot up into this gap? Absolutely. Do they not fill the gap, come into this high here, and then roll over? Possibly. They're basically, I think, building this house on, deck of cards, so to speak. And they could come falling down at any moment. And when they do come down, I'll wait for the rebalance and then the low to get put in, and then we can get in for a long and hopefully hold for longer term. Not a problem there. But just bear in mind that is what I'm looking for. I definitely think they're going to do it. There's a reason why they're not letting anybody get long into this market here and get in on a retest. So typically when they do that, they're going to come back down for those trades that are sitting under here. So just be careful of that, folks. But I think there's a real good chance we're going to see higher prices this week. We'll see if they get up into this area here. I like how they ran the stops here on Friday and rejected. I'm expecting good things for oil, so let's see what we get this week. So I hope you guys have a great week trading. I would wrap up and talk about gold. I left this with my members here. I think there's going to be some real opportunity on gold markets. However, I'm not. I am. I'll tell you this: long-term bullish on gold, as I think pretty much everybody out there is. But I think if US dollar has any tendency to the upside, it's going to make a rally on gold a little bit harder. So I want to wait for US dollar to shape up, and then we'll see where we're at in gold, and then there's going to be lots of opportunity for us to get in on gold. So I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you guys have a great week of trading. Again, if you want any more information, I got a ton of free resources as well too in my chat room. You guys come in, check us out, f45trading.com. You can find me on Twitter at F45Trading. Lots of different ways. So if you need anything or if you have any questions, please let me know. And all of our members, I will catch you guys in the chat room Monday morning. Thanks for watching.